Number 1, for personal and planetary healing, consider a vegan philosophy and a plant-based diet. Number 2, work towards a kinder, more compassionate world, seeking an end to all forms of factory farming of animals and bringing about a future where all beings are treated with dignity, respect, and care. Number 3, a quote from Gerald Durrell. Until we consider animal life to be worthy of the consideration and reverence we bestow upon old books and pictures and historic monuments, there will always be the animal refugee living a precarious life on the edge of extermination, dependent for existence on the charity of a few human beings. Number 4, to help Sunset Farm Sanctuary recover from the theft of $260,000 worth of personal belongings and farm equipment by a thieving moving company, please consider purchasing our $9.99 Amazon Kindle ebook, Voices of Kindness and Compassion, Interviews with Vegans.
Welcome to the Better Life for Animals podcast, where we amplify the voices of animal advocates, sanctuaries, and changemakers working toward a kinder, more compassionate world. Through powerful stories and expert insights, we shine a light on the efforts to rescue, protect, and advocate for animals. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. Every follower helps us reach more people. And support animal sanctuaries. Enjoy the conversation.
John Vallimarescu is chairperson of Board of the Directors of Sunset Farms Sanctuary in Cove, Arkansas, a forever home to 129 animals rescued from abuse, neglect, abandonment, and tragically shortened lifespans. After a career in economic consulting, John became a National Association of Sports Medicine certified personal trainer with senior fitness, corrective exercise, nutrition, and cancer exercise certifications. While displaying his hobby of photography on TikTok, it caught the attention of Helen Demas and her husband, Brian Reeds. Helen and Brian are co-founders and co-owners of Sunset Farms Sanctuary in Cove, Arkansas. John, an animal lover since childhood, gladly accepted Helen's TikTok invitation to join the Sunset Farms Sanctuary Board of Directors and help contribute to the sustainment and well-being of the sanctuary's 129 rescued animals. As a fundraiser for the sanctuary, John has published a $9.99 ebook available on both Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books entitled Voices of Kindness and Compassion, Interviews with Vegans, which includes informative and inspirational interviews with 38 vegans of all ages and professions in 10 countries, compelling sanctuary stories and photographs. There's also an afterwards by Lulu the Savior Pig, and Aurora the Very Aware Cat, and photographs by animal rights activist Rafal Miyakowski. John, welcome to the podcast. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. I'm very honored to be here, and I'm so glad you had a good interview with Helen. I know she showed you around the sanctuary. It's an absolutely magical place. If ever you're in Cove, Arkansas, please stop by. Even better, volunteer if you have the time. It's just a stunningly beautiful sanctuary. Cheryl, if you would indulge me in a thought experiment so that I can fulfill my fiduciary responsibility as Board of Director chairperson.
Of course.
Can we do that?
You betcha.
Okay. Suppose the Earth is about to experience a geomagnetic storm that will completely disable our power grid in less than 4 minutes from now, okay?
Okay.
So here are 5 takeaways before everything goes dark. Number 1, for personal and planetary healing, consider a vegan philosophy and a plant-based diet. Number 2, work towards a kinder, more compassionate world, seeking an end to all forms of factory farming of animals and bringing about a future where all beings are treated with dignity, respect, and care. Number 3, a quote from Gerald Durrell. Until we consider animal life to be worthy of the consideration and reverence we bestow upon old books and pictures and historic monuments, there will always be the animal refugee living a precarious life on the edge of extermination, dependent for existence on the charity of a few human beings. Number 4, to help Sunset Farm Sanctuary recover from the theft of $260,000 worth of personal belongings and farm equipment by a thieving moving company, please consider purchasing our $9.99 Amazon Kindle ebook, Voices of Kindness and Compassion, Interviews with Vegans. Our sanctuary owners, board of directors, and the sanctuary animals need your material and moral support. Thank you. And number 5, be strong in love. Now, the nice thing about thought experiments is we can start them with a thought and we can end them with a thought. So I think our thought experiment is over. The geomagnetic storm is over, and I'd love to have a conversation with you, Cheryl.
Thank you, John. That was quite compelling. I love that. I love your book idea too. That's a good one. I've looked through it and I love all the different stories. I think that's what we need. We need ordinary people telling their stories because it's the individual that's going to make the difference in the end. I want to ask you, John, about how your love of photography led you to sanctuary work, because I'm also interested in your successful career in economic consultancy and how it has played a role, because I'm convinced that so many of us are doing one thing, but we're passionate about another. So what drew you to Sunset Farm Sanctuary, and how does your experience enhance your overall effectiveness?
Well, Cheryl, I love to take photographs, and I started taking photographs initially. I have a lot of art books. I love art. I love going to museums. And I started taking photographs of pages from my art books. And that you can post 35 photographs at a time on TikTok. And a librarian got on TikTok and said, John, you can't do that because these photographs are copyrighted. These books are copyrighted. So I immediately took those down and started going to museums. I live in Washington, D.C., and we have a wealth of Smithsonian art museums, which are all free to the public. So I started posting photographs of artwork in the Smithsonian art museums on TikTok. And Helen saw them and she said, oh, well, this is something different. And at one point, I said, oh, and I would post a lot of photographs of nature and fountains. And at one point, Helen had lost a board member, and she asked me if I'd be interested. I was following her very carefully on TikTok, and I would comment on all her posts. I would repost them, which helps with engagement and views. And I was thrilled to accept because as a young child, when I was 10 years old, we lived in the Dominican Republic. And I was at one point bullied really terribly by a couple of kids in my class. And the way I dealt with it is I would just take my little transistor radio and go up in a tree and listen to the Everly Brothers and the Beatles. And music is good for the soul. And I would just sit there and listen to music. And I wouldn't really complain to my parents. I wouldn't talk to them about it. But they sensed that there was something wrong. So on my birthday, I wake up and my parents say, John, we're leaving. They took off in the car and we'll be back with your birthday present in 2 hours. So they left and we had this huge property. My dad was with the American Embassy, so the embassy rented the property for us. And it was enormous property with avocado trees and mango trees and lime trees and a chicken coop. And so 2 hours later, I see my mother driving the car into our driveway. And I'd never seen my mother drive before. She didn't have a driver's license. So that was shocking in itself. So my mother drives in, and behind her, I see my father riding a full-size horse.
Oh,
That was my birthday present. And
nice.
I was just stunned. And I took to that. I immediately, my dad had been riding all his life, and he taught me how to ride bareback. So at first I learned how to ride, I called him Poncho, rode him bareback, but it did something to lift my spirits and my soul, having this horse that I would feed. I would take a machete and go on this neighboring lot and cut grass for him. My father taught me how to shoe him, put horseshoes on him. And then I learned to ride him with a saddle. And we used to go to an abandoned airport in Santo Domingo. This was the capital of the Dominican Republic. And I would gallop with that horse, and my dad would drive in the car next to me, and he'd yell, slow down, slow down. And I would just urge the horse to go faster. And horses, as you know, are prey animals, and their escape mechanism is running. And this Poncho loved to run. And when you have a 60-pound boy on your back, that's not a big load. So that horse, and it did wonders for my spirits. And one day my mother asked the mother of the two boys who were bullying me over for tea. And she said, and I didn't realize what she was doing, but she said, John, when I'm having tea with her, I want you to jump on Poncho and I want you to start riding around the garden past us. And she wanted to show that mother, because I'd left the house where they were bullying me in tears one day because they were just really. And then afterward, actually, I didn't realize this until many years later, or maybe I knew it unconsciously, but we were showing that mother that, hey, here's John riding a full-size horse fearlessly, you know.
Right.
So I realized, in retrospect, if you think about it, there's something in the horse's spirit, then the generosity of spirit they have to let you ride them, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's quite wonderful. And of course, if you're harsh and whip a horse, that's something different. But if you're kind and gentle with a horse, they will let you ride them, So that's how my love of animals started. And ever since then, I've realized that the connection between human beings and animals is something to be cultivated. And whether an animal is a sheep or a goat or a pig, not just dogs and cats, these are sentient beings that you can have a relationship with.
Right. Right.
You don't have to eat them.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
Your story reminded me of that saying, I conquer my enemies when I make them my friends,
Yes. Yes.
and it's like animals
Yes.
are here with us, not for us.
Yes.
Well, I really
Yeah.
want to talk about the work that goes into running a sanctuary, because I know it looks like, oh, how cool that would be owning a sanctuary, but in reality, it's a tremendous amount of work and it never really ends. So I was just thinking we should maybe go over a few points of how managing an animal sanctuary requires both passion and practical solutions. I'm wondering, what are some of the biggest challenges you face in maintaining Sunset Farm Sanctuary, especially given the large number of rescued animals?
This is a very, very good question, Cheryl. At this point in time, it's extraordinarily challenging for Helen.
You're listening to Better Life for Animals podcast. Our mission is to amplify the voices of animal advocates, sanctuaries, and changemakers working toward a kinder, more compassionate world. But we can't do it alone. We need your help. First of all, go ahead and subscribe to this channel wherever you're watching or listening. And then get involved by visiting betterlifeforanimals.com. That's betterlifeforanimals.com. Be sure to check out our blog, learn more about incredible sanctuaries, and explore our book section, where 100% of net proceeds from book sales are donated to sanctuaries. Every action you take helps to make a difference. And remember, subscribe to this channel. And now back to the show.
When they were in Oregon, they had friends and neighbors that could help on the sanctuary. They left Oregon because of recurring wildfires. And I've seen photographs. It's horrific. The sky is orange, red with smoke. And they continually had to move these animals out of the way of the wildfires. So that's when they hired the moving company to bring all their belongings and farm equipment to Arkansas, where they found this beautiful, I think it's 45-acre sanctuary. But it's very isolated, and there's no local help. There's no farm labor to be had. So Helen is all alone right now, trying to take care of 129 animals. And her husband, Brian, who was a special education teacher, once they moved to Arkansas, he had to take a job driving an oil tanker to help support the sanctuary. But right now, Helen is all by herself. And we've tried desperately to get her some farm labor, and it's been so difficult. And my next big goal, outside of this fundraising goal, is to find some local labor, somebody who can come and help her run the sanctuary. Now, I don't know if you got this, I don't know if you realize how talented Helen is. She's a veterinary technician. She does amazing things when animals get hurt. She can, she's just remarkable. And the biggest challenge, really, I find, besides the labor issue, is that animals get hurt. They get caught on fences. They need stitches. They get attacked by pit bulls. In Arkansas, pit bull fighting is a local sport. And these pit bulls get loose, and then they come and they attack the sanctuary animals. And we had one horrific attack on Phil the goat. And the story is in the Voices of Kindness and Compassion book. Phil the goat was attacked by a pit bull, and the pit bull had Phil by his leg. And we fortunately had an emu, Elmer, who, I don't know if you know emus, they have these really sharp claws and very strong legs. And Elmer saved Phil's life. He drove off that pit bull. And we found, blood and some of emu's feathers around the site where Phil was hurt. And so Helen drove it was 411 miles, 6 hours with Elmer to the, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, there's a large animal veterinary clinic. And unfortunately, they couldn't save Elmer because his wound had gotten infected, and Helen hadn't realized that he was wounded by the pit bull. It was covered by the feathers somehow. The point of my story is running an animal sanctuary every day, you have challenges, not just feeding and caring for the animals, but injuries and diseases. It's very, very challenging. But the rewards are enormous on the other side of the coin. You develop a bond with these animals, and they give so much, not just to each other, but to Helen and Brian. So if you want to witness that, visit us in Cove, Arkansas, and you will see that. And you will see in the ebook, you will see photographs and stories of the wonderful bonds that Helen and Brian have with these animals. It's just really remarkable, and it's very heartwarming to see. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's important. We're looking for ways that people will connect and, want to be a part of this and want to make a difference. And it appears as though it's those personal stories, those particular animal stories that kind of pull at the heartstrings of people in hopes that they will, A, buy the book, B, donate, and C, what would be great is you could maybe get some, college students or high school
Yes,
students who could come in and volunteer. Maybe they could get credit for that in some capacity. And, that's the kind of work that I think, I'm imagining that a sanctuary needs young hands, needs
yes,
hard,
and that absolutely. That's my next goal is uh, to do that, to get some college, for the summer to volunteer, veterinary students,
right.
who can come. We have two new board members, Vaughn McMayo and Tina McMayo, who are wonderful. And I'm going to work together with them to make that happen. Funding is such a challenge, and it's hit or miss on GoFundMe. I've had GoFundMe fundraisers where I've raised $900 in 1 week for an injured pig. People love pigs, but other times you put up a fundraiser and you get $90. Sometimes it's a pig, sometimes it's a different animal. So I decided rather than for this particular need, which is to recover from this theft of $260,000, the insurance payment was $42,000. Yeah, so they essentially lost $218,000. So I decided rather than another fundraiser, I would offer something, which is these interviews with vegans. And you were talking about, ordinary people. I interview a forklift driver. I interview an IT student. We have interviews with an actor, with authors, with Jordi Castamijana, who's a vegan zoologist who's written a book on vegan philosophy. And I have the book in the eBook. I have a page showing that book. But there are 38 interviews, and the 10 countries are Australia, England, France, Germany, Italy, Scotland, Slovenia, Sweden, Tanzania, and the United States. So you get a really nice selection of different countries. And I'm working on volume 2, which will be Asia and, vegans from Asia. I've already contacted the Japan Vegan Society, and they've agreed to participate, and also Central America and South America. And of course, our good neighbor, Canada, despite despite efforts to the contrary. So I think people will really enjoy the interviews. They are so touching. Let me read you the questions. Okay.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah. Let me find. Okay. We asked for written responses to 17 questions. I should preface this. What I first started doing was creating a public TikTok channel
Okay.
entitled At Interviews with Vegans. And I would ask them these 17 questions to submit them in writing. I would post them, and with each interview, I would thank the interviewee before the questions and after, and then I would have photographs of all the sanctuary animals, and I would have a plea: if you enjoy this interview, please donate to the sanctuary. So we were able to raise about $7,000
Okay.
on TikTok, through TikTok, particularly with one very generous donor in Scotland, and he's actually interviewed in the book, in the ebook. And then once I had all 38, I decided, let me publish them as an ebook. So here are the 17 questions. What motivated you to become vegan? How long have you been vegan? What are the rewards and challenges you have experienced pursuing veganism? How have your family, friends, and neighbors reacted to your vegan philosophy and plant-based diet? How do you get your protein? Do you take any supplements? What impact has veganism had on your health? Have you ever been to a slaughterhouse? Paul McCartney said, whew.
Yes, it's very
I
difficult.
get emotional.
Yes,
If slaughterhouses had glass walls, everybody would be vegetarian.
that's
And then in
right.
parentheses, vegan.
Correct.
What are some of your favorite vegan recipes? That's always an interesting one. Cats have been, number 10, cats have been presumed to be obligate carnivores, but dogs are omnivores. If you have dogs and cats, what do you feed them? What inspires you the most when it comes to pursuing a vegan lifestyle? That's a very interesting answer because there have been a lot of vegan activists over the years, some very compelling ones. Granted, they can be very pugnacious, very aggressive, which I think can rebound against one. This ebook, every interview is preceded with the statement, for personal and planetary health, please consider a vegan philosophy and plant-based diet. So I'm asking people to consider it. I'm not, trying to shame people or make people angry. I want them to consider it. A lot of people don't think about it. And I'm honestly, for the first 65 years of my life, I never once thought about where my food was coming from, and what was involved in animal agriculture. Uh, what's number 12? What sources of information do you trust when it comes to veganism? That's a very 21st century question. Who do you trust? Number 13, have you ever consulted a dietitian or nutritionist? Number 14, do you eat honey and avocados? Note, per CNN, approximately 2,000 liters of water are used to grow just 1 kilogram of avocados, while forests are cleared to make space for avocado trees. London-based researcher and designer Arina Shoku decided to develop an eco-friendly avocado alternative, called the Ecovado. She hopes will inspire consumers to think twice before slicing into the fruit for breakfast toast or whipping up the next batch of guacamole. Number 15, unlike milk chocolate, dark chocolate is dairy-free. Dark chocolate, 70% more cacao, has many health benefits. For one, cacao has epicatechin, which boosts production of stem cells. Do you eat dark chocolate? Number 16, I just threw that in because I love dark chocolate. But there's, milk chocolate has milk, cow milk. It's not vegan. Number 16, have you researched the impact that animal agriculture has on climate change, deforestation, water and air pollution, and species extinctions? If so, what have you learned? That was a great question. And
Yeah.
many people who answered this questionnaire were well aware of this and even elaborated on it. So I would get the ebook just for the answers to that one question. Now,
It was brought to me this morning a comment about, veganism takes courage. And
yes,
there are a lot of closet vegans out there, people who have, they really do align with our principles, but they haven't quite put it into action yet. And what's coming
yes,
to my mind, John, is a book like this is a wonderful way to get started, to help a sanctuary for $10 and to feel like,
yes,
yes, I'm making a difference, because in the end, we all need to make a difference. And it starts with just one little action that you can feel good about and help someone. And then I love all those questions because I'll bet there was a
yes,
lot of commonality. I can imagine a support group
yes,
for all of your
yes,
participants. I wonder,
yes.
I wonder if,
Yeah.
you've worked all around the world. Do you notice uh, different methods that are more effective, perhaps, that we could learn from
You
that
know,
we aren't using here?
yeah, that I would have to go back and honestly
Okay.
and read the interviews again, but I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. Because that would be an
Yeah,
interesting,
yes.
what are the best
Well,
practices?
yes. Now, in terms of also life experiences, for example, in Slovenia, which was under communist rule,
Hmm.
the respondent there talked about, he would go and see his father slaughter the family pig, which is quite traumatizing. And
Right.
not just in Slovenia, in England. I don't know if you know Mark Moore, who published The Dark Secrets of an Animal Farmer. Have you heard of him?
I've heard of him, yes.
Yes, one of his interview is in the ebook, and
Okay.
that alone is so moving. His
Mm-hmm.
book is extraordinarily moving. He's offering it for free on Kindle. The Dark Secrets of an Animal Sanctuary, of an Animal Farmer. Um, so even in England, he lived on a family farm, and he slaughtered animals, and has felt terribly about it. Um, Now, I have a note to myself here that in this question 16, in addition to the impact of animal agriculture on climate change, deforestation, water and air pollution, and species extinction, we should add the impact of animal agriculture on food insecurity, because 82% of starving children live in countries where food is grown to feed animals in the West.
Yes.
Now, if that isn't a travesty,
Yeah.
you
It
know,
makes no sense. Makes no
it
sense.
makes no sense.
No.
And the reason I say consider a plant-based diet is because animal red meat is not very healthy for you if you eat a lot of red meat. And somebody told me there was a recent study that found a correlation between Alzheimer's and red meat. I don't know if you've seen
Right.
that.
Yes.
It's a very
Yes.
recent study.
Yes.
Uh, And so the last question was simply number 17, anything else you would like to share? That was also, there's some very moving answers there. Um, so I really like what you just said, which is spending $10 is an action you can take to immediately help a sanctuary. You'd like
Right.
to help us, just to let as a um, just so the viewers and listeners know, for example, to feed winter hay to our 73 ruminants, we have 38 sheep, 9 cows, and 36 sheep, 9 cows, and 28 goats. It costs $10,000 to $15,000 every winter. So
Okay.
we have to raise that money.
Yes.
And if 200 people buy a $10 book, that would be tremendously helpful to
Yes.
us. And we would be eternally grateful. And I guarantee our listeners and viewers, the 38 interviews are very moving, very compelling. There's sanctuary stories, sanctuary photographs, the afterwards by Lulu, the savior pig, and Aurora, the very aware cat. Aurora is our cat. Lulu, the savior
Mm-hmm.
pig is a very famous pig. I don't know if you've heard Lulu's story. Do you know Lulu?
I think I
That
have heard of her story. Yes.
she saved her owner from dying of a heart
Yes.
attack
Yes.
because she played dead on the road in front of the trailer home until somebody finally stopped and followed Lulu in. And these motorists who stopped, he knocked on the door and said, "Lady, your pig is in distress." And she said, "Call 911. I'm in distress. I have a heart attack." So Lulu, these pigs are extraordinarily intelligent
They
animals,
are
and
extraordinarily intelligent.
they form bonds with human beings just like dogs, and even
Yes.
cats.
Yes.
I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I am
yeah,
so happy to have you on today, John. And this
thank
is
you.
exactly the kind of work that we at Better Life for Animals in this podcast are trying to promote and shine a light on sanctuaries and workers like yourself. And if we can get our listeners to jump in there and look at and participate in helping out your sanctuary. And the book is called Voices of Kindness and Compassion, and it's Sunset Farms Sanctuary. Is there
Yes.
anything else I left out, John?
The subtitle, so it's Voices of Kindness and Compassion. The subtitle is Interviews with Vegans.
Okay.
And it's on
And they
Amazon.
can, it's on
Yes,
Amazon.
it's
Okay.
on Amazon Kindle. Um, uh, I've been able to find it just putting in voices, and it comes up. Um, and no, I think I'm so grateful for this opportunity, and I was so happy to see uh, I have to commend you. I know you've written 3 children's books, which are wonderfully illustrated.
Thank you.
Pickle the Pig, and what are the other 2?
Cluck and Gabriel. Yes. About
Okay.
the farm, the cow,
Yes.
the
Yes.
chicken, the fowl, and the pig.
Yes.
Yes. Trying to
And
shed
that,
light on what these animals experience, I
yes.
think if we open our hearts to anything that's like you just said, the animals that are being slaughtered,
Yes.
they're letting you know they suffer. There is,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
we need to connect in that. And it's such a wonderful time to be alive because we don't have to eat that. There's so many
Yes.
other options.
You
So
know,
it's easier than ever. And
yes.
I'm so appreciative of your time and that you chose to take all your good experience and put it toward this cause. And I hope that we can shed some light and help you out. And I hope to, hear how things are going. Looking forward to volume 2 and
Thank
the
you.
next time.
Thank you so much, Cheryl.
Thank
This
you,
was
John.
really great. I really appreciate it.
I
All the
appreciate you.
best.
Same to
Okay.
you. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Better Life for Animals podcast. Together, we can create a world where all beings are treated with dignity, respect, and care. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening. It helps us reach more people and spread awareness about the incredible work happening in animal sanctuaries. You can also share this episode with friends and fellow advocates to keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep speaking up, taking action, and making a difference for the animals.